Okay, so first section we're going to look at this week is 2.4. So we're kind of picking up where we left off, solving inequalities. We're just going to go over the steps to solve multi-step inequalities, which is the same steps as multi-step equations. So we had an acronym to remember how to solve equations. Anyone remember? It was the 3 letters. Yeah, Sam. All right. So when we solve multi-step equations, these were the steps we used. Does anyone remember what the S stood for?
Solve. Simplify.
Simplify. And you've already got this in your notes from earlier in the year, so if you already know it, that's fine. If you want to write it off to the side or something, you can put it in there.
You might Sam if you want. Not to write all the steps if you don't want.
Now, under simplify, what does that mean to do? There's 2 things, and we have to do them in a certain order. We actually did both of them in the warm-up. Yep. Yep. Distribute, and then CLT, combine like terms. So distribute and combine like terms. All right. After we do that, what's the next operation we do after simplify? Yeah. Yeah, if there's any adding or subtracting. All right, so if you've got something like that, that's a problem where you'd have to subtract. Okay, so now you deal with any adding and subtracting, and then the last thing you do is multiply or divide. Okay, multiplying and dividing, that comes in usually when you have a number in front of x. Okay? All right, so we're going to use those same steps again today. And you guys seem pretty good with it in the warm-up, so that's good. Okay, what do we have to do if we multiply or divide both sides by a negative? We did that in the warm-up too. All right, so what do we have to do? That's the second question on your guided notes. Donovan?
Flip the way the inequality.
Yep, flip the sign. Flip the sign. Okay, so if you multiply or divide by a negative, flip the sign. What if you add a negative number to both sides, which is really subtracting? But what if you do that? Do you flip the sign? No. You don't flip the sign if you're adding and subtracting. Only multiplying and dividing. So as far as notes, okay, kind of like explaining new stuff, there's not really anything new. We're just going to jump right into some examples. Yep.
On this week's test, are we going to like graph stuff?
Yep, there'll be some where you have to graph and some where you have to solve. Yep. So this one says solve it and graph it. All right, so let's take a look. 2v minus 4 is greater than or equal to 8. All right, so this is a 2-step. You're gonna have to do 2 things. So let's just kind of think through those steps that we had. Simplify.
And kind of like what we did in the warm-up too. The only thing that's different is instead of it being an equation, it's an inequality.
Do I have any simplify here? Which means, do I have any distributive property? Do I have any combine like terms? Gigi? No. No. Unless I have parentheses like this one that we're going to do next, that's got some simplify. This one doesn't. So what is my first step then? If I don't have any simplifying, I can go right to the next step. Yep.
Add 4 on both sides.
Yeah. We're going to add 4. We're going to add 4. So negative 4 plus 4, that's gone. What's still on the left-hand side? 2v. We didn't do anything with that yet. So 2v. And then what about my sign? Should I flip it?
No.
No. All I did was add on both sides. You never flip it when you add. And then 8 plus 4 gives me 12. Nice. All right, so I'm done with adding and subtracting. Last step. going to be... How about, I haven't heard from many people. How about Nagelli? What do you think? What would be my last step? Yep, divide. And what would you divide by? Divide by 2. Okay, so Nagelli says divide by 2. I get V. What about my sign? What should I do with it? What should I... About Nate, what should I do with my sign?
Flip it.
Why?
You're dividing.
By what?
No, you keep it.
You keep it. Why?
Because you're dividing by a positive.
Exactly. You're dividing by a positive. You keep it. You don't do anything to it. And 12 divided by 2, that's going to give me 6. So V is greater than or equal to 6. All right. So are we good or anything else we got to do?
We're gonna graph that solution.
Still got to graph it. So hopefully we got a number line. Yep. Okay. So remember, you don't have to put every single number. What I might just do is something like this. Just go by 3s. It's more than enough. Just as long as you number it the same. Okay, if you want to do like -6, 0, 6, that's okay too. However you want to do it. All right. What kind of circle on 6? Open or closed? You said?
Closed.
Closed. How do you know that?
Because it has a line under it.
Yeah. If it's got the line under it, think of that line as like it's got an extra thing under the symbol. So you got to take the extra step and fill in the circle. All right. So we got our line on. We got our dot on 6. How about Chris? What else do I have to do?
You have to shade in everything above 6.
Yeah, above to the right. So we're shading in everything to the right of 6. There you go. So there's your answer. Okay, so not that much different than what we did last week. It's just kind of combining what we did with equations and then what we did last week and putting them together. Right. Questions on that one? All right. Okay, let's look at this one. 15 is greater than or equal to 3 times 2 minus x in parentheses. What's a little different about this one? I mean, I know it's got more steps than the last one, but there's something else different about the structure, how it's set up. Yep?
Just that we have to like distribute like this other.
Yeah, so we're going to have to distribute. Something else about it too that's different. Yep?
The X is in on the left side.
Yeah, the X is on the right. We normally don't like it like that. We like to have the X on the left because if you do that, when you're done, the inequality tells you what direction to shade. If you put the variable on the other side, then it doesn't do that, right? So now the variable's on the other side. We don't really want that. So we're going to put that over here. We're going to put that over there. We didn't even really do any math to do that. We just flipped them. But we got to be careful. Look at the sign. What is the inequality sign pointing to up above? Gigi?
3 parentheses 2 minus x.
It's pointing at the 3 in parentheses 2 minus x. So when you flip it, just to rewrite the problem, you're not even doing math, you're just rewriting it, it still has to point at the same thing it was before. So it still has to point at the 3 times 2 minus x. So I didn't flip that sign because I divided by a negative. I didn't do any math yet. I just rewrote the problem. That's all. Any questions on that? And it's up to you. If you want to leave it the way it is, you could have, but it's probably a good idea to do that first. All right, now Yusuf already told us the first step. Distribute. Yep. So we get 3 times 2 is 6. And 3 times negative x is negative 3x. How about the sign? Should I flip it? No. Excuse me. No. All we did was multiply with the distributive property. We don't ever flip the sign when we do distributive property. Okay. Yep.
We're gonna like subtract 6. I mean, put 15.
Yeah, put the 15, and then go ahead. What's the next thing you
And
said?
then, like, subtract 6 since 6 is positive.
Yep. Since the 6 is positive, we want to do the opposite and subtract it. Now I did subtraction. I got a negative number. Should I flip my sign? No. Right? You guys are good. I'm not tricking you at all. You don't flip it because all you did was subtract. Keep it the same. And now 15 minus 6. How about Alex? 9. Yep. And now we're down to our last step. Natasha, what operation am I going to use in my last step? Yep, we're going to use division. Can someone else tell me what number I'm going to divide by? Yep, Ellen?
3. 9.
No, not 3, not 9.
Negative 3?
Negative 3. Yep. Negative 3. Negative 3. That's gone. So I get x. What do I got to remember to do now? Yep. Now you have to flip the sign because you just divided both sides by a negative. So instead of pointing to the left, now it's going to point to the right. And 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. Okay, let's make our number lines. We got negative 3, 0, 3. All right. How about Laurel? What kind of circle this time? Open or closed? Closed. And where would you put it?
Negative 3.
On negative 3. So there's my closed circle. And because we set this up, so the variable is on the side that we want, the inequality tells us which way to shade, so we're going to shade to the right. And that's it. Any questions on it? I'll do one more and then you want to jump in?
Do it now if you want to stay.
You want to do it now? All right.
Don't mind. Alright guys, so this one, a little bit different than the first couple we've done. Obviously the numbers are different, the sign might be different, but how else is it different? Look at both sides of inequality.
1 half is negative and the other half is positive.
Okay, I agree with that. Yeah, we have 2 numbers that are negative on this side, 2 numbers that are positive on that side. What else? Savannah?
Variables on both sides.
Yeah, I have variables on both sides. I haven't had that yet, right? So I want to move one of those variables. Which one would be a better option to move? The negative 6 or the positive 2? Mary?
The negative 6.
Why do you say that?
Because you don't want to move the negative.
Exactly. You're not wrong. You could minus 2x, but then you're going to have a negative. And then if you do that, at the end, you're going to have to flip your sign as well. You have to remember to flip your sign. So again, when you have variables on both sides, all right, move the one of lesser value. All right? So negative 6 is less than 2x, so I'm going to move that. How do I move it?
Plus 6 on both sides.
Plus 6 on both sides.
Oh, 6x.
Plus 6x on both sides, right? All that's happening here is this cancels out. Everything I don't use, I'm just going to bring down. I'm going to bring the negative 5 down, my sign down. I'm going to get 8x plus 11. Just going to bring everything down. All right? So on the side where I just move stuff, so I just did something on this side first to move something over here. Now I want to move something on this side, right? On this side right here where I just moved stuff. What's that thing? What's the thing on that side that I want to move? I just moved, I just added 6x, right? So I can get the x right there, right? Where I just moved stuff, to the side I just moved stuff to, I want to take whatever's there and move it to the other side. Ellie?
What do you subtract 8 from 8x from?
I just moved that. I don't want to, this
Okay.
right here is staying put. I just moved it. I'm not going to move it again. All right? Gigi?
Subtract 11.
I'm going to subtract 11, right? So whatever I just moved the 6x to this side. Now I'm going to move the negative 11 to the other side. So I want to get, again, I want to get x by itself. So minus 11. Everything I don't use, I know I sound like a broken record, but everything I don't use, I'm going to bring down. My sine, my 8x. On that other side where I just moved to negative 11, what am I going to get, McGill? I got negative 5 and negative 11. Negative 16, right? They're both negative. Keep the sign, combine the numbers. 16. Just like if it was 5, positive 11. 5 plus 11, 16. Keep the sign positive. All right? Ellie?
Then you would divide negative 16 by negative 16.
No. What do you think, Bethany? What am I going to do now? Before, me personally, as far as the setup goes right now, I might do something right now. It doesn't really involve any math, but it might make it look a little bit nicer. What do you think, Bethany? How can I make, remember, when we have inequalities, right? What's the format that we want? What do we want on the left? Letter, sign, number, right? Look, I have number, sign, letter. Flip this, yeah, let's flip it around, right? So what am I going to have now? What will be first? 8x. Which way is my arrow pointing? Is it pointing towards the 8x or away?
Away.
Away from it. Then the last thing will be what? Negative 16. All I did was just flip it around. Like I told you guys last week. Pay attention to the arrow. In this case, it was pointing away from the 8x, or think of it this way, towards the negative 16. All right? One more step. Brady, what's my last step? Ellie kind of said it. She said divide. I agree with her. We are going to divide. Divide by what, Brady? 8. All right, don't look like you don't know. You know. All right? Divide by 8. Now, question. Do I need to flip the sign? Chris is saying, no, Mr. Roy. Okay, why?
Because you're not dividing by negative.
Yeah, we're not. Yes, I know that negative 16 is negative, but I'm not physically writing negative 8, negative 8. I'm not doing that. Unless you're writing and you're actually writing and you're dividing by a negative, you're not. All right? Yes, I know there's a negative there. If there's already a negative there, it doesn't matter. You don't flip the sign. It's only when you're actually writing in minus 8, minus 8. This cancels out, leaves me with x, right? My sign, like you guys just told me, does not flip. What number should be on that other side? Ellie?
Negative 2.
Negative 2, very good. Right? So that one's a little bit more difficult because we have variables on both sides. When you have variables on both sides, look for the one that's smaller. Look for the one that has lesser value, which we did. All right? Then when you move the variables, you're gonna move whatever's left on the side. You just move stuff to. So it's like this, then it comes back. I'm gonna graph this one. No, just solve. All right. If I was gonna graph that one, Catherine, if I was gonna graph that one, what would it look like? Open circle. What number? Where's my arrow going? Open circle on negative 2. Arrow going to the right. Very good. Questions on this one? Everybody's good. Again, variables on both sides. That's the only thing that's different, was we have variables on both sides. All right? Again, this one, just another solve. Somebody remind me, what are my steps again? What's the first step? Paige, what's that first step? When we solve equations or when we solve inequalities, our steps are the same, right? What's the first thing we want to look and see if we can do? Simplify. What's one part that falls under simplify? Distribute. Can I distribute? Where? The 8. Okay, so the 8 to the x and the 8 to the 2, right? When I do that, what do I get? 8x plus 16. Again, I just took this and I multiplied. 8 times x, 8 times 2. So that's how I got that. All right, I'm going to bring my sign down. What's something else that falls under? So I agree with Paige. Yes, we can distribute. What else falls under simplify? Do you know that one?
Combining like terms.
Combine like terms. Do I have any like terms?
Not on the right side.
Not okay. Wait, what I just distributed, I agree with you. There are no like terms. How about on that left-hand side?
Yeah, you do.
What do I got?
You got negative x.
Yep.
Positive x.
Negative x and a positive 10x. When I combine those two things done, what do I get?
9x.
9x, positive, right? Because 10 is bigger than x or 1. 10 has the bigger sign, 10 has the bigger number, keep the sign of the bigger number. So 9x, and it's positive. What Donovan just said, and I got 3. Remember, what's the big thing, what's the big rule about being able to combine like terms? How do you know when you can combine them? Obviously they have to be the same, but what else? Listen, man. Yeah, you're gonna be on the same side. I can't combine this, like this 10x with the 8x. To do that, that's why I'm going to do the opposite operation, to move stuff around. I'm not moving stuff, I'm just adding it together. All right, I'm just doing what the signs tell me to do, and I'm just doing the math. All right, now this one, if I go back, kind of looks like the one I did before. Variable here, variable there. Variable here, variable there. We have variables on both sides. What do we want to move, Ellie?
9x and 8x.
Okay, which one do you want to move?
Well, you should move 9x over to the other.
You could, but if I minus 9x and minus 9x here, I'm going to get a negative x. So instead of minusing 9x, what's your other option?
Flip it.
Not to flip it. Gigi?
Subtract 8x.
I can subtract 8x instead. I can minus. Now, Ellie, you're not wrong. I just don't want to deal with negatives. Then you're having to flip the sign and do all that stuff, and your mind's just blowing on Monday morning. We don't want to do that. All right? So we're here, right? So again, if we have variables on both sides, move the one that's worth a lesser. Move the one that's worth less, a lesser amount. All right? This is just going to cancel out. Stuff I don't use, what do I do with it? Just bring it down. I know some of you guys get confused with that sometimes. This is going to be just an x. You can put x, you can put 1x. It's entirely up to you. And then, is that a positive or a negative x?
Positive.
Positive, right? Because 9 is bigger than 8. 9 has a positive sign. Take the sign of the bigger number. Here we go. Now again, where I just move stuff, whatever's there where I just move stuff, whatever's not a variable where I just move stuff, I got to move that now. So, how about Garrett? What am I going to move now?
The 3.
The 3, right? So I want to get the variable by itself. So how am I going to move it? Add, subtract, multiply, divide?
Subtract.
Subtract 3. Where else am I going to subtract 3, Garrett?
16.
From the 16. Cancels out. X, I'm just going to bring it down. I didn't use it. Bring my sign down. And then 16 minus 3 is what? 13. Am I done?
Yes.
Now, some people will do this. Some people may put a 1x here. And some people will do this. That's fine too. Do that last step just to make sure to get rid of the 1. That's fine. You're still going to get the same answer. But you don't have to do any more. This is fine. That's fine. All right? We don't have to graph this one. Again, we talked about graphing, so I'm not going to make you guys tell me how to do it. You've already done that. All right? Do you guys have an example 5 on yours?
Yes.
You do. All right. So this one. Again, variables on both sides.
But we have a problem though.
Why?
Because it's supposed to be a letter before number.
All right, so this one here had a number first.
Yeah.
It still came out okay.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you wanted to, Ellie, we could go 5x plus 8
Okay.
is greater than 5x minus 9. You could do that too. All I do is just flip these.
Yeah.
You could do that too. We don't have to.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I
So
thought that you had to since it says like letter before number.
yeah. I mean, the only time that really matters is when like you get to the end.
Oh,
You
okay.
have to flip it or something. Or if this one has two variables, if it was something like 3 plus 5, something like that.
Oh, okay.
We only have one variable, you could flip it around. Mary, what do you want to do?
Well, the first thing you would do is you would subtract 5x from both sides, but that would cancel out.
Okay, so that sometimes that happens, right? So minus 5x, minus 5x. Mary's kind of laughing because there's no choice. Because we say move the one of lesser value, they're both worth the same amount. Positive 5x, positive 5x. Sometimes it works out that way. So this cancels out, this cancels out. The only thing I didn't use was 8. What does that say there?
8 is less than or equal to negative 9.
8 is less than or equal to negative 9. True or false? False. Yeah, false. So remember we kind of did this stuff with equations as well. This is a false statement. It's kind of like when we did equations. We had like 3 equals negative 2. It's not a true statement, right? When we got something like that, what was our answer? If it was a false statement, what's our answer? The jelly. It's a false statement. What's our answer? No solution, right? So if we get a false statement, if a false statement, your answer is no. So if a false statement, your answer is no solution. All right? Again, we didn't show you one, but we may do one tomorrow where if you get a true statement, it'll be all real numbers. Say if this was like negative 10 was less than negative 9. That's a true statement. Your answer would be all real numbers. Meaning you can plug in any number for x, and it would make it a true statement every single time. But in this case, there'd be nothing that would work for x. That's why there's no solution. All right, so there could be a no solution on the test on Friday. So let's understand, if it's false, no solution, true, all real numbers. All right? Whoa, we had 2 examples here. We'll skip this one. Shall you do this one? Word problem.
All right, let's see a look at the word problem. I think it's example 6 on your notes, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says that you need a mean score of at least a 90. What's another word for mean? Yep. Average. So you need an average score of at least 90 points to get to the next round in a trivia game. It says, what would your score, okay, so what's the score in the 5th round that would allow you to advance? So these are the scores you've gotten so far. What does it mean if you need to get at least 90 points? You need an average of at least 90 to get into the next round. What does that mean you could have? You could have, well,
Greater than or equal to.
right. So this is what we kind of want to set up. So just kind of thinking about what we're going to do, our average score has to be greater than or equal to 90. Okay? So that's what we have to figure out. Average score has to be greater than or equal to 90. So now, average. Okay? How many scores do we have so far?
4.
4. And when we do to get to the next round, we're going to get a 5th score. So how many scores will there be altogether? 5. So five numbers. We don't know what this one is. It's a question mark. How could we represent that using more mathematical terms than a question mark? Yeah, why don't we just call it x? I'm just going to call it x. Now, if I wanted to average all 5 of those, What do you do with these numbers to average them? You add them. So the average would be 95 plus 91 plus 77 plus 89 plus x. So when I add them all up, is that the average? No, what else do I have to do? Yeah, divide by 5. So you add up all the scores, make sure I got them right, 95, 91, 77, 89, and x. You divide by 5, that's the average. And we want the average to be at least what number? 90. All right. So now that's what we have to solve. Well, I see a lot of like terms right there. So I think first thing we should do is we should add all those up. All right. So we get 95 plus 91 plus 77 plus 89, 352. So 352 plus we still have the score we don't know, the unknown score in the 5th round. Divided by 5 is greater than or equal to 90. Okay, next step. I want to get x by itself. And this one's a little different. So there's 2 things I have to deal with. I've got the 352 and I've got the divided by 5. Whenever you have a problem like this, you have a big fraction like that and a bunch of stuff in the top, you've got to get rid of what's in the bottom first. Yes, I want to subtract 352 eventually, but I can't until I get rid of the divided by 5. So what would I have to do to get rid of the divide by 5? Yusuf? You know, what did you say? Well, we already have a divide by 5. I want to get rid of divide by 5. Yep. Multiply by 5. So I'm going to take and multiply by 5. Multiply by 5. I just did the same thing on both sides. What happens when you have a divide by 5 and a multiply by 5? They cancel out. So that's gone. So now I have 352 plus x is greater than or equal to, what's 90 times 5? How much? Yep, 450. And now we're down to our last step. Once we get x by itself, that's going to be the score that we need to get in the 5th round to get an average of at least 90. So what's my last step to get x by itself? Yep.
Subtract 352 from this.
Yep, subtract 352. Subtract 352. Do I need to flip my sign? No. So that means my score in the 5th round has to be greater than or equal to 450 minus 352. Yep.
I got 98.
98. Yep. So that means you've got to get a score of at least 98 points in the 5th round to advance to the next round.
That's crazy.
All right, and I don't know what the scores are out of, maybe 100, but so far you haven't gotten a 98 in any round, so you'd have to do better than you've done on any other round. All right. So any question on that one? Okay, a little different, just getting rid of this 5 first, but there's really no other way to do that, okay, without getting into messy fractions. All right. Okay, so a couple reminders. I think we already mentioned it. The homework tonight will be a worksheet. Last week of academics. So anything you got to turn in, pass in from last week. This is the last week. On Thursday, as Mr. Roy reminded us, first half we'll do a little review. We'll start the test at like 9:15. You'll have 45 minutes, and then we'll give you the second half of the test on Friday. Okay, just because of the half day on Friday. All right, so we got a practice problems. We'll have you guys try those. Just like always, we'll walk around, we'll help you out, check them, and when you're all done, we'll give you the homework.